Hi, today I'm going to speak about psychological safety and how Scrum and other Agile frameworks can improve reaching it. Yeah, and the place where I am does not look safe at all. It's in the middle of a railway. Luckily, this railway is abandoned since 1 year or over 1 year because it's rebuilt. They're going to build a tunnel to Denmark and no train will come, I'm pretty sure. But sometimes I look around, I even feel unsafe when I hear a vehicle driving because in my mind, it's not completely that nothing can ride here, even if there's vegetation already on it. Psychological safety in your project is really important, and there are a lot of Agile frameworks promoting a psychological safety. For example, SAFe, Scrum is also helping implement it, and now I'm gonna tell you how Scrum and Cadence improve psychological safety in your project. One thing Scrum provides is a framework of events happening, and it's fulfilling the principle of inspect and adapt. You inspect your increment, what you actually result of your project frequently, and you also adapt it. And there's a certain place where to do it. In Scrum, it's the sprint retrospective and sprint planning, where you actually see what you have reached so far and also plan what you will do the next 2 weeks, and besides that time you're gonna have a fixed sprint. You're allowed to change it, but usually you should not change that much of it. And this principle of like having that fixed length provides you with at least not introducing chaos to your project and turning over everything you want to do from one side to another. Also, it provides you with the opportunity to receive feedback on what you did the last 2 weeks, and having that frequent sprint review meeting where you look what you achieved and can actually adapt based on the status which you reached. If you don't have a framework like Scrum or have other approaches, you came to the opportunity to move dates from one time to another, move deadlines, move other stuff, and that will create a lot of more effort in coordination, and it will also create a lot more disturbance for your mind, because every time you can shift around something, you cannot shift around something. You have to think about it, you have to think what is ready and when it's ready. With Scrum, you have the certain times for looking at, and you have also the principle of everybody being included to give feedback on the product and feedback on the plan and sprint planning. Also feedback on the process, how it's going. For that one, it's a sprint retrospective. And these principles are which is mandatory for psychological safety, that you have influence on what happens and how it happens. And if you have a really large project, you need to scale it up. You can use something like SAFe, where you include it in other meetings. But there's a certain way of how things are decided and how you have influence on those things decided. And that brings a great thing of psychological safety, that you know there's a certain point where I can go with the things I have to clarify and have it fixed. The other thing Scrum brings is transparency. With transparency, you have the opportunity to see actually what is going on in the backlog. You try to get all work which needs to be done inside the backlog, and you can always look at it and see what's coming up. You can have transparency on decisions, and you have transparency by the events, by the meetings you have. Nobody is sitting somewhere in a chamber and deciding stuff which is going to influence your work, because you always participate in it, and that's a great benefit of psychological safety which Scrum brings to you. Of course, there are other things having influence on psychological safety. If you have mobbing inside of company, because you're not gonna feel safe. If people are discouraged either by not getting good enough material or by changing the stuff, changing the positions without discussing it before, without getting their influence on it, it will attack psychological safety, and people are gonna feel less safe. So having a framework like Scrum supports it. You have a fixed cadence, you have the opportunity to influence, you have the opportunity of transparency, and you actually value the people, the developers, everybody taking part in their meaning, and that's really important for psychological safety. So what does psychological safety mean to you? And maybe tell me what was the biggest threat to psychological safety you covered in a project, and maybe the biggest advantage for psychological safety, what made you feel really safe. For my project once, it was like not being provided with enough hardware or not allowed to use my own hardware, because then I didn't have the right material for my work, and that causes a lot of disturbance for me. Let me know what was yours, and see you next video. To learn more about Agile, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell.